We are ready.
It's Mark from City Church. You know, it sounds easy, right? Coming up with one joke a week, but actually, it's kind of hard. You know, I had one about construction, but I'm still working on that one. And, you know, I had one about time travel, but you guys didn't like it. So I came up with another animal one. Are you ready? How many times do you have to tickle an octopus before he laughs? Any guesses? 10. 10 tickles, get it?
Hello, City Church. We're very happy that you found some time to join us this beautiful Sunday morning. And if you liked the sermon, and I hope you did, please let us know by clicking this little button down below and putting thumbs up. And if you feel like, you can even subscribe and put some notifications on, not to miss any future videos from this channel. And don't rush just yet. after this sermon, we will have some time. There will be an after-church Zoom meetup party. If you feel like you miss the people, if you want to be around your church and at least virtually spend some time together this Sunday afternoon, just stay here and be in touch. And just before we continue, whether you have given this week already, we just want to give you a little moment to give prayerfully and intentionally. If you still haven't figured out the best way to give right now, you can just go and click the link under this video below and find out the best way for yourself. Meanwhile, we really want to thank you for your generous and faithful giving. And we hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Look inside the mystery, see the I recently read a book called Listen, Love, Repeat by Karen Amen. It's been sitting on my bookshelf for at least 2 years. And only a week or two ago, while I was casually scanning for something to read, this title kind of jumped out from all the other titles and spoke to me. And only into the first chapter of the book, I realized that I know the people who live the lifestyle the book is talking about. It's my in-laws. They do inspire me. And honestly, they stump me in a little bit too. Their home is always open. It seems like their calendars are mostly built around other people's needs. And they are always available to serve others. They live the way I don't see too many people live. And just as an example, here's the story.
2 years ago, Caleb and I went a couple weeks ahead of Renata and the girls to Canada, and there was a surprise waiting for us at my parents' house. 2 itty-bitty dogs, a chihuahua, and a teacup poodle. I didn't even know that such a small poodle existed. Now, they belonged to the son of a friend of my family who was in hospital. And the first memory I have of this friend is when I was 4 years old and she was babysitting me at a camp in northern Ontario where my parents were working during the summer. She'd babysit me after school, she'd come stay with us at our house for days or weeks, or it seemed like that when I was a kid. And then we wouldn't see her for several years. And then she'd be back in our lives in a big way a few years later. Whatever the choices that she had made and the consequences that came from those decisions, my parents were there for her. They were there for her children and even for her parents as well. You know, several times when I was still in school, I was dropped off at her house to look after the older kids while she was off giving birth to her daughter, or for other less momentous events. Or maybe her father would need a ride somewhere, so I'd be dispatched by my parents to go drive him where he needed to go. Again and again, when she needed help as a single mom trying to make ends meet for her family, picking kids up from school, bringing her 3 young children on vacation to Vermont with us, or dog sitting when her youngest was in hospital for what I'm sure seemed to them like the millionth time with a chronic illness. My parents were and are there, even if it meant sending me to drive somewhere or look after preschoolers or pick kids up after school so she wouldn't end up with a late fee. It's always been this way in our home. So when we showed up to my family home and there were 2 tiny dogs yapping away 2 years ago, it did not surprise me who they belonged to and why they were there. It's just the way my parents lived. One example of many.
2 years ago, when we arrived in Toronto, we found their basement full of stuff. It seemed like someone actually moved in. It turned out that they were storing personal stuff of a guy they knew, who by some poor choices ended up in prison. We visit them only once every 2 years, so I will be honest with you. It got a little bit under my skin, and I got a little annoyed. But the truth is, I know them. I know who they are. They live other-centered life. They're not about themselves. They never have been. And they are tuned in to God's idea of love. You remember that Jesus left us with one command? Love one another as I have loved you. We talk a lot in City Church about loving one another. We keep coming back to this command. We keep coming back to the question, what does love require of me? Did you know that there are 59 verses in the New Testament that use one another? The verses that teach us how to and how not to relate to one another. I love this quote from Theodore Roosevelt. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'm sure you agree. It's a very truthful statement. We all have experienced people who knew a lot, said all the right things, quoted the right sayings, maybe even quoted all the right Bible verses, but really, the way they interacted with others did not reflect any of it. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Do not waste time bothering whether you love your neighbor. Act as if you did." As soon as we do this, we find one of the greatest secrets. When you are behaving as if you loved someone, you will presently come to love him. We live in a culture that's obsessed with self. We're constantly posting on social media. We're trying to impress others with what we eat, what we wear, how busy we are, how grand our schedules are. Who do we know? We are focused on our schedules and our errands. We seem to plan our calendars around what's in it for me theme. Yes, it is true. Our days are filled with demands. Families, jobs, volunteer work, you name it. There is a lot that calls for our attention. And while we run around getting the chores done, we interact with others, but we rarely pay attention to others and to what is really going on with them and in their lives. To live others-centered takes an effort, takes being intentional. In her book, Karen Amen calls it alert living. To be alert is to be quick to notice. I love that idea of living because it captures how tuned in we need to be to those around us to show kindness, care, to actually pay attention to their needs, both emotional and physical, and to respond. And when I think of alert living, one particular story from Jesus' life comes to my mind. Jesus was busy. Let's agree, he was way busier than most of us. You have heard me say it before. Our to-do lists don't include save the world. There were a lot of people competing for Jesus' attention. He was always surrounded by crowds. He mentored those closest to him. He made sure he spent time with his heavenly Father in prayer and solitude. He was the Son of God, and he was on a big mission. But even though he was surrounded by crowds of people, he never failed to notice individuals and what they needed in that particular moment of interaction with him. 3 writers of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, recorded this one event from Jesus' life. We entered the scene right after Jesus healed a demon-possessed man and restored him back to his family. I would say it was a pretty grand moment. Jesus comes back across the lake, and of course, the crowds are waiting. Among the crowd, there is an official from the local synagogue named Jairus. Official from the synagogue ruler, were not priests. They were lay leaders who were responsible for the worship services, for the synagogue's operations, their physical facilities. They were usually nominated from the community, from the leaders and seniors of the community, and they enjoyed much respect in this community. He's desperate because his little daughter is very sick, and he comes to ask Jesus for a miracle. Please come and place your hands on her so that she will get well and live, we read in Mark chapter 5. You can hear the pain and the heavy heart in his voice. And in his actions, he fell at Jesus' feet and pleaded with him. He is in anguish for his little girl. Jesus didn't need much convincing. He started off with him. We continue reading in the story. Simple, no drawing attention to himself or to the fact that an important synagogue ruler believed in him. No social media posts, #miracle on the way, or #important invitation. And as they go off to Jairus' house, the people were crowding Jesus from every side, we read in the Mark's account. And then we meet her, one of my favorite characters on the pages of the Gospels. There was a woman who had suffered terribly from severe bleeding for 12 years, even though she had been treated by many doctors. She had spent all her money, but instead of getting better, she got worse all the time. She had heard about Jesus, so she came in the crowd behind him, saying to herself, if I just touch his clothes, I will get well. And she reached out to touch him, as did most likely many around him. But Jesus noticed this one hopeful touch. At once, Jesus knew that power had gone out of him, so he turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my clothes? I can see his disciples rolling his eyes. You see how the people are crowding you? Why do you ask who touched you? But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. See, we know that Jesus knew who touched him. This pursuit of the individual in the crowd was more for her. Jesus understood how important it is for her to come out of hiding. It's almost as if he was asking the very first question God asked Adam and Eve. Where are you? He wanted to see her. And what's maybe even more important, he wanted her to know that she is seen, she can be known, and she is safe. He wanted her to receive the healing and the peace that comes from being known, being seen, and not judged. She did come out, trembling. She did tell him the whole truth. And Jesus said to her, "My daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your trouble." As I said, this is one of my favorite encounters of Jesus. I get goosebumps every time I read it for two reasons. In the middle of the crowd, Jesus stopped. He took time to see just one person and meet the need of someone seemingly insignificant, especially if you compare her to the synagogue ruler Jairus. She doesn't even have a name. We still talk about her as a woman who touched Jesus' cloak. But she was important to Jesus. We meet her as a woman in the crowd. She leaves as a daughter. That's pretty cool. How one brief meeting with an alert Jesus could change someone's life. In the meantime, Jairus is still waiting. I think Jairus must have been getting worried or scared for his daughter too. Jesus is slowing down here, and it seemed like it's going to be too late. But for Jesus, it's never too late. He continued to Jairus' house, and Jairus' daughter lived. When I look at this entire meeting that took place on the street, in the crowd, I can feel the tension all around Jesus. Yet he never panicked. He never got angry or overwhelmed. He loved people right there and then when they needed him. It seemed like Jesus' real ministry was the person he found standing just in front of him. I think there are three very simple lessons that we can take and put into practice even this week. Jesus was never in a hurry. That's my big lesson, number one. I want to slow down, to have a schedule that will allow those love one another encounters. I want to be able to take a deep breath and stop when I see that someone with a need asks for a moment of my time. Lesson number two, Jesus asked questions. I want to ask questions. I can't tell you how many times I jump into conversations with others with full and complete answer to their problems rather than draw them out. I am so solution focused that I forget to be present with love, listen, and actually hear. Lesson number three, Jesus was alert to what was going on around him. He engaged with the world, so people he met felt noticed and seen. I want to be alert, to stop, to notice the ordinary circumstances around me, in front of me, as I go about my days. My in-laws always find time for us when we are visiting. They make space for us in their home, and we are a big family. They share their table with us. They take their grandkids to see interesting places. They serve us when we are there. They love us, and they love people around them. This book, Listen, Love, Repeat, was a gift from my mother-in-law as well. That's just how they live. This is who they are. Love one another can come in different shapes and forms. It can be celebrating successes or mourning with someone. It can be supporting with encouragement or lending a listening ear. It can be babysitting a kid for a young couple so they can spend time alone. It can be dog sitting for a troubled mom with a sick kid. You choose how to love one another. Jesus modeled love for us. And it looked different at different times. but it was always sacrificial, consistent, and without strings attached. So, who do you need to love today? Let me pray for us. Jesus, thank you so much for keeping it simple for us. You gave us one command: love one another. And you told us how to do it, as you have loved us. Give us alert hearts. Give us alert minds. Give us joyful spirits so we can meet people where they are, when they are, and we can embrace them with love and support. Thank you so much for your love, consistent, sacrificial, and with no strings attached. Amen. Have a wonderful rest of the Sunday.
This is love, not that we love God, but that He loves us. This is love, not that we love God, but that He loves us. We're the beloved, we're the beloved, we're the beloved of God. This is love, not that we love God, but that He loves us. And this is love, not that we love God, but that He loves us. We're the beloved, we're the beloved, we're the beloved of God. And we love because don't you know that we love because He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. He first loved us. Oh, He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. He first loved us. Yeah, He first loved us. We're the beloved, we're the beloved, we're the beloved of God. We're the beloved, we're the beloved, we're the beloved of God. And this is love, He first loved us.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed our video today. Before you go, would you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and even turn on the bell for notifications when we post videos like this and other content as well? Did you do it? Great. Now go check out Mosaic Kids.